Welcome to the Hiding in Plain Sight podcast, where we explore the transformative power of inclusivity and the strength found in vulnerability. I'm your host, Lindsey, and with each episode, together we will go on a journey of reconnecting with all parts of ourselves to foster healing and inspire a more inclusive and compassionate world for all. So grab your headphones and settle in for soul-fulfilling discussions that will make you laugh, provoke thought, and be the catalyst for growth. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. We're back. Eric and I are happy to do another segment of 1%, the Empowered Man. Welcome back, Eric.
Yes, Lindsey, how are you? I'm happy to be here. The 1% of the Empowered Man. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, I think today we should talk about boundaries because I think boundaries is one of those hot button topics right now. And I'm not sure that people totally understand what they mean and how they should approach them.
Yeah, I mean, there's boundaries of life, boundaries of self, boundaries with friends, family, and partners. But I just Googled boundaries just to get a, generic definition. So it says boundaries are the limits and rules that people set for themselves to protect their well-being and feel safe and secure in their relationships. They can be physical, emotional, mental, sexual, intellectual, or financial and comply to any aspect of life. So the first thing comes to mind as the, 1% of the empowered man. The empowered man respects his boundaries, right? Also the empowered woman, one man, right? And the reason you got to respect your boundaries first, because if you don't respect your boundaries, other people won't. So say, for instance, we're doing podcasts every week, Lindsey, and I say, I can't meet at 3:00 on Saturdays, which is 6:00 your time, or you're East Coast, I'm West Coast. But say you come in and say, well, you interrupt those boundaries. And then I say, all right, forget it. Let's do it anyway. Right. So now I'm going against the boundaries I already set that I probably already expressed to you. Maybe didn't mean as much to you. And then I just let you get away with, infiltrating my boundary that I set for myself that I can't record or talk at 3 p.m. my time. Right. So that's like a subtle way where when it comes to people we love, we do business with, if it's money involved, if it's love involved, we break that boundary because we want that connection. And I think it's important not to do that for yourself first. So if I say I'm not eating sugar for the whole month of January, that's a boundary I'm setting with myself. And the moment I go out with a friend or family member and I eat sugar, then I already broke the boundary. And it's not about being hard on yourself, but it's about we have to set some type of boundary within our own vessel so the universe outside of us can respect the boundaries we set by ourselves.
And I think one of the tricks with boundaries, at least this is what I've learned and this is what I've seen in other people, is I think there's a difference between setting a boundary out of fear and anger versus a place of love for yourself. So I think you need to know yourself well enough to understand why you're putting that boundary in place, right? It shouldn't be a triggered response because that energy that you put out there, it creates a different reaction from whomever you're trying to put a boundary on, even when it's yourself, right? It has to come from a grounded place. And then people are more inclined to respect that boundary. And if not, it's a really quick litmus test to tell you who's in your life because they care about you versus what you can do for them.
Yeah, and it's also a test of how much you care about yourself, like you said, because we can set the boundary to create space within ourselves. But if we're just setting it to sound good or save space or to keep the distance and we're not, it's kind of like if someone says, oh, I'm going to the gym every day and they don't go to the gym. You can feel when someone's in the gym, right? You can feel when someone's good in business. You can feel when someone is authentic. It comes to their vessel. So you just respect it energetically, like, I won't call or I won't text or I'll see them when they get off of work. So that's why I think it's important in all the relationships and all of life. What I discovered is that the relationship and the boundaries you create with yourself or the space you have to yourself by yourself is so vital for your growth. So when you are around others, it comes out in ways like you said, and it's not triggering. It's not, the energetics behind it is not negative or anger or frustration or what is it? It's like a dark frequency. It's not a dark frequency behind you setting
Mm-hmm.
your boundary. Like it's coming out of spite or like I told you don't do that, or you're saying it in a polite way, but it's coming off. It feels heavy, if that makes sense. So I
Right.
think with the boundaries we have to be clear on why. I think why is very important for ourselves and others. What's the context of it? Because people can take things personal and take it out of context. And three, there's a shadow side to boundaries. So where I've witnessed where I'm cutting people off, I'm not, I got to get work done, and then there's nobody to talk to. There's nobody to connect with. So that's the shadow side of setting boundaries, where you don't allow yourself the connectivity that you actually need from the people that are close to you, because
Right.
you seem to be so busy or so productive, but it's not really helping you because you're not in alignment of that boundary.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's used as a protection from a place of fear, right? Like I
Yeah.
need to isolate myself because only I can do, A, B, and C on my own. And I am not comfortable enough to seek the support of the right people in my life.
Yeah. And honestly, like, because that's just something I have challenges with in my life. How does one seek the right support from someone? Like, I feel like you're really good at that, or you witnessed that in your life. Not that I don't have support, I just don't know how to receive it in a genuine way because I'm not used to it the way maybe most people are.
Right. So, yeah, I think that once you go on the self discovery journey and you start understanding yourself better and you understand where you want to put boundaries in place and parameters in place, it is a lonely journey. And I think that that's why so many people don't go on that path. But I think that you need to call in the support, and if that looks like hiring the people to support you, you need to hire those people, right? And you need to be able to articulate the support that you're looking for in order to be in a position to receive it. And I think that, that's where this idea of the empowered man came from for you and I, is that men really feel like they don't have a support system for this journey. And I think that they don't turn to each other.
Yeah.
I think, right, and I think that's because that's a fear. That's interesting because that's a negative side of a boundary that they've put in place. At least that's my understanding, right? It's I'm boundarying my emotions and I'm not going to talk to my closest male friends about that because I'm not comfortable.
And it opens up another layer of support, is that we want support from the women in our life, but we don't even know how to get support from the men in our life, which is so
Right.
interesting, right? Like you want your wives, your sisters, your mom, whoever the female energy is present in your life to support you or understand you. But we don't even have men in our life. I can't say all of us, but some of us where we're opened up, and we might have the support of men, but we don't open up to them the way we want to because there's fear in space, or we're afraid to be judged, we're afraid to be vulnerable. So to all the men out there, I feel you, I get it, but I think if we can start building relationships and friendships to have support in it, not just for fun, not just for going out, but just to have a day of just, hey man, let's like, what's going on? Let's talk. How's relationship with your wife, or how's relationship with your significant other? How's your job? How you doing mentally? It's cold. Like, did you have seasonal depression? Like all these things that go inside the psyche that we don't talk about as men. And that's something I want to get better at this year, is that the men that are close to me, I want to be able to have those genuine conversations about life that's real, not the life that we show. Because I think it starts with, like you said, men to men opening up to one another, to be able to create that safe space within ourselves, to know how to have some sort of a safe space with the women in our life. Because if we don't, we got to start somewhere, right? I always say one direction, even a small choice in that direction will open up that thread for more to come in from that space that we're looking for.
Right. And go first, right?
Yeah.
Like go first. Be the one to open that door. What's the worst that can happen is you're met with resistance. And we're so afraid of judgment, which is why that keeps us stuck in this place of isolation.
And I
And
think the biggest, go ahead, I'm listening.
No, I was just going to say, and I think most people are craving that connection, right? So likely what'll happen is you'll go first and your buddy's going to say, oh, thank God. They might not articulate it, but they're going to be relieved that you've opened that door so that you can provide support for one another.
Yeah, and I think, not only open the door, but I think what has to change, in my perspective, we got to stop, as men, we got to stop making these things so serious, right? When I say serious, we don't have to make, oh, we're gonna have this men's group and it's all men and we're gonna be rah 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 rah. And it's like that's great. Make it light. Like we just all gonna get together and we're just gonna talk. We don't we whatever comes up. We don't have to make it like, oh man. Because when I went to my retreat, I think it was great because it was intentional. It was very scientific backed, right? Every man retreat and Josh retreat. It was great, but it also was heavy, right? And I think it was heavy because of the emotions that was dispersed, the conversations. I mean, I cried a lot when I was there. I felt a lot of sadness and I released anger. But I also think it doesn't always have to be heavy, right? It can be just, like we don't have to have something serious to have something serious. We can have something light to have something serious. So I always tell people, when you want to have a real conversation with someone, have that real conversation when when that person is in a healthy space, right? Where they're feeling joyful, they're feeling light, they're feeling. You don't want to have the heavy conversation when everyone's feeling heavy, because then it's probably hard for that energy to come through.
Yeah.
So I've noticed in my life, in my experiences, that a lot of these containers, from what I'm watching or seeing, it's real based around, it's heavy. Like I mean, that's just what it is, and it's okay if that's the truth. But we can kind of come in it with a light space, like, hey guys, we're just gonna all catch up. We're gonna get together once a month, or a few times a week, and we're just gonna talk. We don't gotta have no intention. Let's just lighten the load, and because also, as much as we need that as men, I don't feel like we have like a fun space to go to outside of life. Like, you got to work, you got to pay bills, you got to take care of the family, whatever it is, it's fine. But you got sports. But if you don't have sports, what else do you have as men?
Right.
It's like, I don't know for women, but I see women always coming together, going out to dinner, going to happy hour, girls trip. Like, it's like normal for you women to converse and connect in that way. And not that we want to be like women, but I just think we need a space where it's just light and it's fun and it's okay. So
Yeah, and I think that like that starts with taking inventory of your life and deciding what you will and will not tolerate going forward, right?
yeah, and it's so good because it's making me think now that you said that, the reason things are heavy in my life, or when they are heavy, is because I'm not having fun. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just not having fun. So where you're not having fun, that's when the heaviness comes in. People's like, well, how can I have fun when I'm stressed? How can I have fun when I gotta do this and do that? It's like, how can you not have fun? Who said that you have to be in the great space to have fun? Fun doesn't have a happy meter on it to embrace it, right? And I always say, usually when you are in your most darkest, or you should kind of find some type of energy of fun, whether it's a song, whether it's dancing, whether it's being around your kids, or going to see the elders, going to the park, eating some ice cream. I don't know, but I think we got, as men, we got to allow that, fun time or enjoyment or joyous time come through. Like, yeah, work hard. Like, I'm all about that. Be a man, be strong. You got to pay, like, but that's not life. Like, life is so much more than that. Like, then some guys will say, well, I'm like, look, at the end of the day, all men want to feel loved. They want to be appreciated. They want to be valued, and they want to enjoy the fruits of their labor. So I think if a little bit of fun drops in there, it kind of help lighten our load that we're dealing with mentally and emotionally. We won't feel so heavy. I just got an idea. Maybe when we're having fun is when we should talk about all our pain.
Right? Yeah, because you're relating
Yeah,
on the fun. Yeah.
yeah. We could
Yeah.
be we could be bowling. We could be shooting a basketball. Hey man, so tell me about your darkest moment. Oh man, I remember like 2023. Because I think that helps with the healing. Like, if I was a therapist and I had a bunch of men come into my office, I would make them laugh and have a good time, and then we'll talk about all the pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
way to soften it and not make it so. It's kind of like, you get a bruise or you get a sore and you're just constantly like rubbing it and you're just making it worse.
Hmm.
Put a little bit of ice on it. Go for a little
Right.
bit of walk and then come back to it. So, yeah. Boundaries,
Yeah.
guys. Have some
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. And I think it's also about getting to know yourself as well, right? Because
Yeah.
like I was talking with someone the other day and they were not familiar with human design,
Yeah.
right? And he's a generator. And whoever does if you don't know what human design is, you should really take a look,
Yeah.
or astrology or numerology, like, or all of them, whatever resonates with you. But I think really understanding your personal way of moving through the world can be very helpful. So this individual is a generator, and based on their profile numbers, they are lit up when they are around other people,
Mm.
right? So they get energy by being in the crowds, being with people that inspire them. And that's what provides them with the fuel to do all of the other things in life. However, this person moves through life as though I have to get to the bottom of my to do list before I deserve to have those moments of
Sounds like
joy,
me. That was me for
right?
you. Yeah.
So basically what you're doing is, and we talked this through, is I said, look, you're keeping yourself stuck because you have no motivation to do the things that you have to do, right? And it's because you're starving yourself of these moments that actually light you up. So you have to carve in those moments, and it will motivate you to do the stuff that you don't necessarily enjoy, but you have to because it's living life. And I think that too many people move forward that way. It's like this martyrdom of like, I don't deserve to have fun until I've done all of these things, when the reverse needs to happen, right? Because then it
Yeah.
it raises your vibration. You're better able to show up in those more obligatory situations.
Yeah, and I think as men, to be honest, we're big on dopamine. We want to do something to get something. We're all about reward. So that's why we feel like if we're not accomplishing or being productive in something, we rather not have fun. And I was that way for years. I struggled with that because I stopped drinking because of that. 19, I was in Soho House, West Hollywood, and I was asking myself, why am I in here drinking? Like, what am I trying to do? Like, this is no purpose. Why am I'm gonna want to get laid? Like, get out of here. I'm like, and then I just made that decision. Like, I'm not drinking. I have nothing to celebrate. That was my whole purpose. Like, what am I celebrating? What am I drinking for? And so I went on a 30-day fast, turned into 18 months. And what I discovered was like, oh, now I don't have fun drinking at the time. Where's my fun? So all I did was overly work to be overproductive, but I was sad because I wasn't allowing myself to enjoy life. And fellas, I'm telling you, that's a dark space to be in, because no matter how much you accomplish or succeed, if you don't find fun and enjoyment in your life, it will hurt you. It will erupt you in ways that you can't see. And that's why it's important, if you have a significant other, you have a girlfriend, a wife, it's important to find time to have fun, because it levels the playing field where you don't allow yourself to be so consumed by work. And that's another boundary that men set that we don't know unconsciously that stop us from living life, is we set that strong boundary of, I have to be productive, I have to work hard in order to deserve fun or reward. But honestly, you get more rewards and more achievement when you're celebrated and when you're having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're better at your job when you do
Yeah.
that, right? As somebody who came from the corporate world as a lawyer, it was like a badge of honor if you worked all the time, right?
Yeah.
So that was, and you were criticized when you didn't. And I was so strong on my boundaries of my downtime, and I got a lot of flack for it, but I always taught the people under me that they needed to do this as well. Like, I didn't have my work email coming to my phone. I didn't check it on emails unless I had a particular thing going on. But my standard was, after hours and on weekends, I don't check my email. I work during work hours very hard, but during my downtime, I needed that time for me. I needed it to prepare a good meal, exercise, sleep, do the things that I needed to show up better in the job. And I got to tell you, like the flack that I would get for it was next level. And it's a very male dominated industry, law, right? So, but I needed that in order to enjoy my life during those moments when I wasn't working. And I really encourage people to take stock, like, where are you boundaryless? Because your coworker doesn't they're not going to show up for you at hard moments because you work
Yeah.
past
Right.
you work till 9 p.m. at night and you didn't spend time with your partner or your family. Like, you are not benefiting anything from that. All you're doing is giving away your energy.
Yeah, I want to look up the statistics about people regret when they're on their deathbed or they're about to transition. That I think is something about peace. Basically, something that's being said is that most people say they wish they would have spent more time with their family. They wish they would have traveled more. They wish they would have went out more and spent time with their friends. But yet they sacrifice all that for work and success to take care of everything, but they didn't have any fun. And honestly, it goes transition into um, us not having boundaries as men. And I want to say fun boundaries. What's happening in the world is that you hear the term happy wife, happy life, right? And I always like to say, happy man is God's plan, right? Because when a man is happy, it's easy to make his woman happy. However, we've been so focused on making women happy, right? Whatever you need, whatever you need, whatever you need, whatever you need. But we're doing it from a space of what they want and not what we want. In the book, The Way to the Superior Man, the author writes about and gives stories and case studies on a man who doesn't have a vision doesn't have a wife. And more times than not, most men might not notice, but women don't want you to make them a priority. They want you to make your mission a priority. They might act as if they want you to make them a priority, but women don't like when a man is constantly blowing them up and always talking to them and always got time for them, because then it feels like you're not a man of value, because how are you always calling me and texting me? And they might not know that in the moment, but after a while it becomes, I can't say not masking it, just because it doesn't become healthy, right? So what I've realized what most men do, because I got a buddy of mine, he's like, man, I'm just tired of this corporate life. I got to take care of the wife and kids. But he's not living life for himself. He's living his life for his family. So anytime you cut yourself off and try to benefit the family, you're going to lose your family because you're losing yourself. And that's the key that I'm learning for me, because I did that for years as friends and family. What do I want? What does Eric want? What's going to make me fulfilled? Because if I'm fulfilled before I fulfill everybody else, we can 10x the fulfillment, because I'm putting myself first, because I know I got to put you first once I open up my eyes and get to work. So this whole idea of setting boundaries within ourselves, we also got to be aware of the boundaries we shut off from ourselves. Of, create some fun time, some me time, some idle time where it's just you and yourself with no one around, and make sure you edify those times, because it's going to benefit your family the most.
Right.
And it's important. And like you said, the human design factor, astrology, getting to the root of who you are. Like, I got to do things that light me up, that give me a hell yes in my body. I'm not supposed to go and just initiate, which I'm really good at. It's my Sagittarius moon. But when things come into my life and I get to access it, if it lights me up, I'm doing it, because then
Right.
that energy comes through the project, comes through my voice, comes through like this. Like, honestly, I was talking to a young kid yesterday, and his mom was like, "Can you help my son?" I was like, "Sure." I looked up his number. He's a Life Path 22. He's 20 years old. He goes to college in Santa Barbara, and he's like, he's just so hard on himself. I said, well, just what I know is that he's a master number 22. He's a powerful, powerful young man. So I get him on a Zoom, and I'm just asking him questions like, how do you define success? What do you want? So he's like, man, it sounds like a little vain, I just want to be great, and I love people. I just want to make a lot of money. I said, no, 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 it's not vain. We love money. It's good to want money. Let's own that. And he
Mm-hmm.
smiled, because I didn't judge him or make him feel bad about what he really wants. So that's what he really wants. So I was able to hold space in what he's trying to call on. He said, in these next 4 years of college, I really want to find a thing that I love and just go 10 times harder than that. That's going to make him feel good,
Yeah.
right? But if we just ignore what makes the man feels good, he can never make the family feel good the way we want. And even if we think if everyone's taken care of and he's suffering, then who's really happy? So that's why
Right.
I think authenticity is so important as a man, and vulnerability. And we got to open up with our male counterparts as well as our female, but we got to open up to ourselves first, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And stop doing all of the things that you think you should be doing, right? Stop fulfilling this role of,
There you go.
right? I got to work 100 hours a week because I got to provide this family, or else my partner's not going to love me, and you end up just pushing them away in all cases because you're miserable, they're miserable, you're never around, you're investing all your time and energy into likely something you don't even enjoy. And for
Right.
what? Because society told you had to, right? We need to start going against the grain and be brave enough to go against the grain.
And you, if you are around, you're not present with the family, because that's what I
Right.
was so good at. I would go home, be with my mom, my dad. I'm like, yeah, yeah, let's go out to eat, but I'm not really with them. Like, I'm not really present. Like, I'm there, but I'm not really there. It's like, you know how someone give you like a church hug. I mean, you get a little hug on the shoulder, but then you get a
Right.
real hug. Like, oh my god, that feels. That's because I'm really present in that hug. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Then see you later. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes when we got other things on our mind as men, when we need to be present, we can't because we haven't learned how to, because we're worrying about how to take care of everything but ourselves. So
Right. Right.
it's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
So
So,
from a female perspective, what do you see outside of us setting better boundaries or having boundaries that we could work on or be mindful of to improve what we actually want from ourselves and the people that we serve?
well, I think number one is that men tend to be boundaryless with their own feelings, right? So
Mm,
if you have no framework in which you want to move through the world, then you're always going to be operating from a place of what you should do or what you think you should do and how you should show up for other people. So you're totally ignoring your wants and needs and
yes, that's
feelings,
true. That's true. I did
right?
that most of my life. Yes, yes. Keep
Yeah.
talking. That's great.
Yeah. So I think that that's number one, right? And this goes back to, what we've already said and we'll keep saying, and it'll be a number one theme throughout all of these episodes is the learning to sit with yourself. Because
Mm,
how do these things make me feel? How does this relationship with this person make me feel? Because if I'm suppressing my own ethics or my own feelings, then I'm not even exercising boundaries with myself. So then how can I show up in a relationship or with confidence to express what I want, right? My whole energy's off.
yeah, that's real good. It is, because, and I think we are afraid to sit with our feelings. I mean, I would stay busy just to not feel anything.
Right, right.
Because I don't, because here's the thing, and I think we're the misconception in the world. Men, we don't know how to feel emotions. We don't know how to process emotions. We just look at them, we think about them, like, because the stereotype, and at least in my mind, what I realized, no one cares. So what? No one cares. And get over it. Pull your pants up.
Yeah.
Wipe the tears. No one cares. Grow up. Be
Which
a
is
man.
so sad.
Yeah, but that's the stereotypical way of understanding that that's what a man is. You got to be strong. You got to be raw. You gotta get your hands dirty. You have to just being a man. And like, I believe, as I continue to heal and evolve, being a man is being very emotional, emotionally available for
Yes.
yourself. Right? I used to deny my feelings all the time. Like, are you okay? Like, no, I'm fine. I'm good. That's obviously I'm good. I'm good. But there's moments throughout my day, on a day to day, I might just feel sad. And I'm asking myself, like, why am I sad? Because I'm a Pisces, I can feel things so deeply. I can think of something that I saw in the news or something the family members going through and feel those emotions and be sad. But I can say that now. I couldn't say that 5 years ago or 3 years ago.
And that's
Or
you knowing yourself though, right? Like
yeah,
that statement in and of itself is you're taking those moments of like an opportunity to be curious. Like, "Oh, why did that show up for me this way?"
yeah,
And then that takes the fear out of the feeling the emotions because you're able to understand yourself.
yeah. And also too, I realized all the pain and suffering or betrayal I felt from others is because I betrayed myself.
Right.
So they can't be responsible for that betrayal or that pain because I betrayed myself. So I put it on myself to be in that space. I chose to do that for whatever unconscious reason. So that's why it's so important to sit with yourself, be curious about yourself, wanting to learn and grow yourself. So when things do erupt or go a different way, you can accept it with grace and gratitude and not anger and frustration, because we're not here to control everything. We're here to kind of understand and accept where we are to get to where we want to go. But I think as men, we don't have the tutelage, we don't have the tool sets to know how to process. I had a situation a few days ago. I was with someone and I created a scenario in my head about how they was acting, right? And I was quiet about it. And then when we were able to talk, I was like, I feel like you were neglecting me or doing this or doing that. And then they told me everything. I was like, my whole energy changed. So the old me would have just said, it's cool, it's not that deep. I would have never had the conversation. But because I spoke my feelings, even though it was coming from an egotistical space or what that's how I felt, whether it was ego or not, I felt that way. I was able to get feedback. And the person said, oh, it was hot. I have a headache. I'm overwhelmed. I've been thinking about my relatives a lot. I couldn't sleep. And I'm like, all right, it changed my whole perspective. But mostly we keep what's in our mind, the truth that we want to speak, to keep the connection. But when we don't speak our truth, that connection really fades, right? But we don't know that until we had a conversation. So I was willing to take the risk and chance to speak how I
Mm-hmm.
truly felt to get even more truth from someone else. And we were able to have a better day and a better conversation, right? Because I spoke my truth. And I think that's honestly when we break everything down, Lindsay, and everyone listening, like to be the empowered man or 1%, the truth of it is you just gotta be able to speak your feelings with no fear.
Yeah.
Like also like when I tell people like some situations, all the details is not really matter. Only the big picture is it's a financial thing, it's a money thing, right? And with guys and our emotions, it's about us being comfortable speaking our truth without being judged. So we
Right.
got to be able to say that with fear. So guys, listening, get to a space within yourself, by yourself, to speak to yourself about your true feelings. Do you love the women you're dating right now? Or do you like what your mom said? Like I had a client tell me he was happy about a new position he got his job, and his mother told him he was too emotional. That hurt his feelings. He's a grown man.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell that to her. He told that to me. So
Right.
imagine if he told that to his mom, how she probably would have brushed it off, but I guarantee you she had to feel that as a woman and think about that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's these little pockets of time as men, we got to be able to have the faith, the favor, and the confidence to say, listen, this is my emotional space right now, and this is my feelings. Here they are. So then we can get feedback. Now we know it's not just us, right? And that's the biggest thing I think a disconnect is that we don't feel comfortable speaking what we feel, because we
Yeah.
don't want to be judged.
Yeah. And probably struggle to articulate exactly the
Yeah,
root of that feeling as well, right? Because if you're not having the conversation with yourself, that the poster that you have behind you, that's the feelings post, the feelings
yeah,
wheel, right? Like I have one on my wall as well. And I feel like that is a great starting place for people because it really helps you, will help to let you get to know yourself better, where the feelings are coming from, because every root feeling has a bunch of different branches, right? That it branches
yeah,
off to. And
yeah.
yeah, way
And the
more
thing is,
complicated.
yeah, and the thing is another side of boundaries with ourselves. Like I set a boundary with myself that was unhealthy, meaning I didn't allow myself to be angry when I was angry. So I suppressed it because I didn't want people to, again, judge me for my feelings.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, how interesting is that I suppress my anger to make everybody else happy, but yet I was hurting inside. and I didn't want to express it.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that. And so when I was in Josh retreat, with a retreat, I was able to release anger, and I got so much joy from it. A emotion
Right.
that I release, right? So it's just, I like to break things down and get straight to the root. Like the root is, we just gotta be safe as an empowered man. 1% empowered man, you feel safe expressing your feelings and you understand where they're coming from. And even if you're challenged, you're able to accept the challenge to even learn and grow more and not take things personal, right?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that's the biggest thing, where I can get feedback and be challenged and not take it as a trigger point or a trauma response and feel like I gotta react to it. Instead, I can respond with, like, you know what? I never thought about it. You're right. That could be true. Maybe I need to look at that. And then that's how you grow as an individual, as a man, as a woman, as anyone. You take the constructive criticism or you take the feedback, and sometimes people can't handle your truth. Like, I also realized that people want your truth. They want you to be emotional, or emotional available and feel, but they can't handle it, because if they're not used to it, it's like, yeah, I want my man to tell me he loves me, and he's telling you all the time. Now you don't know what to do with it. So I think we all have our juxtaposition trade of how we think we are, because it's, to say one thing is cool, but to actually embody it is a whole nother level.
Yeah.
It's that quote that says, everybody want the view, but they don't want the climb, right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
Yep.
view, but are you willing to climb? And I think you have to be willing to climb the mountain of your emotions, your vulnerability, and your boundaries to have a better view of yourself and of life with the people that you have around you. It's
Yep.
important.
Yep. And the work never ends. That's the other
Yeah.
thing, is you're never gonna get to the top. You're gonna
Yeah.
think you're close to the top, and then something's gonna show itself that you need to continue to work through. So, and this is the importance of the community piece, right? And yeah, men need to start, like, take your life back, guys. Start
There we
creating
go.
your own community.
There we go.
Nobody's showing up to save you. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it doesn't matter what you do, how you express your feelings, what feelings you express, whether you tailor them or not to whoever you're expressing them. Everybody is going to judge you. It is
Right,
human
right, right.
nature.
Yeah.
So the only thing you have control over is you and how you want to show up in the world. So, make a decision today, and then you can move forward living authentically, and then everything else will get easier.
Yeah, and you'll feel more
Right?
empowered, you're feeling more inspired, and you'll be more aligned with what you need to do that's going to benefit you, instead
Yep.
of taking that energy out on yourself or people who don't deserve it. Communication rules the nation, and the more we can communicate with ourselves, we'll be able to have better space to communicate with others. And it's important to set boundaries, to speak to them, to give context, but also to be authentic in them, and not just set them because you can't express what you're going through. So you just say, I'm going to set this boundaries. That's it. That's all. I mean, I just think that, Lindsey, we just got to continue to show, improve, and keep having these conversations, because when we talk like this, open up more portals within myself to be like, oh, wow, I'm that way. I was hard on myself. I didn't have fun. I don't have fun. I don't allow myself to be a human being. I can't be Superman all day. Like, I can be angry. I can be sad. I can be upset. I can disappoint people. I can make mistakes. But it's okay, because yes, you're allowed to do whatever, but we just got to get to a space where we can communicate that we're feeling whatever we're feeling.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, last but not least, also to a point where you can express when you're feeling the good stuff. Like, there's guys that I know right now today, ladies, that have strong feelings for a woman, and he still hasn't expressed I love you or how he really feels. And so she's
Yeah.
still wondering after 6 months to a year, does he like me? Does he like me? Does he like me? Does he like me? Because he doesn't feel safe expressing the words or the admiration, because he doesn't know how to, and he doesn't feel
Yeah.
safe. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I love talking about boundaries. I think we could talk for hours on it. So, we'll reiterate like we did last time. If you guys have any questions,
Yeah,
or
ask
I would love to.
questions,
Yeah.
send us DMs. Like, let's, like, what Lindsey and I are doing for the 1% Empowered Man is to open up this space for a men's container where men can come and share their truth to be empowered with us, right? So every week, every conversation, the intentions is to open up a container in a space and a collective consciousness through our vessel and our voice to express what we believe or what we see men are suffering with and acknowledge it and talk about it.
Yeah.
And the outcome is for more men to have income. Income is the internal process of accepting what's going on to be able to come on a show and talk to us. So join a workshop that we're going to be putting together and just be a part of this world of the empowered man that you know you can be and that you are. And it first starts with yourself.
Right. Go first, right? Go first.
Go first.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Eric.
Yes, this was great. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on the Hiding in Plain Sight podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And please take a moment to subscribe and leave a review. Feedback and episode ideas helps us reach more listeners. I would love to connect with you further. You can visit my website at lindseymazza.com and add me on Instagram at lindseybmazza. Until next time, keep sharing your stories and vulnerabilities because one story at a time connects us all.